we'll hand it off to our own Adam Garrett Clark to talk to us about how to edit videos. Thank you.
Okay, is everybody looking at my screen right now? Can people see my screen? Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, hey everybody. This is my little mini film course for you all. I'm thinking about this as video production rather than video editing because I think editing is one facet. It's an important facet of the whole process, but it is very specific to where you are deciding to do your video. Is it TikTok? Is it YouTube? Is it Instagram? There's going to be some different scenarios there as far as that piece of editing. So yeah, let's jump in. All right, okay. So why am I talking to you guys about this? Why did Phoenix ask me to do this? Well, I do happen to be a little bit of a documentary nerd. I did study journalism in college at a film school, and after college, I basically have volunteered at Sundance Film Festival. It's one of the largest independent film festivals in Utah. Basically every year since I graduated college. I missed a couple, but I've gone for 12 years. And if you're interested, it's a pretty fun experience. It's like adult theme park for film nerds, and you get a free place to stay. You get to see as many. I would go and watch as many documentaries as I could per day. Sometimes that might be 4 in a day, and I also have worked on a few documentaries in my day. I would love if I could make a living doing that. I would. I'm an '80s baby, so I grew up watching HBO and TV, and I think a lot of the folks, if you're younger than me, you're even more digitally literate and more of a storyteller. So I think the sad thing for me once I graduated college was that I realized that everybody was a filmmaker, everybody was a writer, and it was a little hard to make a living doing that. But that is also a beautiful thing, especially with the latest technology. We're all storytellers, and so the phone is one of the phone and the internet obviously are kind of the big technological shifts that have allowed that to happen. In fact, I own 2 overpriced, very expensive cameras, and I don't use them. Most of the projects that I do now, I use my iPhone. And there is actually professional films that have made it in film festivals that were shot totally on the phone. And the technology is only getting better and better, and it's very user friendly. A lot of these platforms like TikTok and Instagram and iMovie, it's making it a lot easier and allowing all of us to become storytellers. So let's see here. So I wanted to play you. I'm going to play you a couple little ditties, a couple little videos throughout this presentation, and I'm also going to give you some practical tips. But indulge me for a second while I weave a little narrative for you. So let's see.
Hello, my name is Yuval Noah Harari. I'm a historian, and I would like to talk to you about how we humans conquered the world. Humans have been around for millions of years. See that little group over there? They are our very distant ancestors. Their behavior looks kind of familiar, don't you think? But they weren't very different from gorillas, elephants, or birds. There was nothing special about these early humans. They were insignificant animals minding their own business in a corner of Africa. There was no sign that one day they would conquer and transform the whole world. This graphic novel explains how these insignificant apes acquired godlike powers and became the rulers of planet Earth.
All right, so get back to my presentation here. Yeah, so I wanted to share that because this is one of my favorite books, and I think it's required reading. I think we should all read this
Most
book?
speakers really don't need any introduction, so I'm really actually not going to give them an introduction. But just to say,
got my YouTube. Um, what I was saying is that this is *Sapiens* is a wonderful book. It's about the history of us, of Homo sapiens. It covers a long time span. And one of the big takeaways that that came out for me in reading that book um, is a story about the beginning of our species. So a lot of times we think that there was Homo sapiens, and then there was Neanderthals, and then there was Homo erectus, and it was like the succession of different human forms. Actually, the reality is that there was a bunch of these human forms all living together at the same time. So there was Neanderthals, there was Homo sapiens, there was Homo erectus, all these different human types were all together. But right now, the only human form that exists is Homo sapiens. So what happened? Where did all those other human forms go? And the answer that you come to when you read this book is that somehow Homo sapiens, we either outsurvived the other human forms, or we killed them off. But we did it because of storytelling. Our superpower as human beings is to take an idea and share it amongst a lot of other people and make things happen. So this, in my mind, is, oh, I can play it here. Cool. This is the most important.
Hello, my name is Yuval Noah Harari. I'm a historian, and
Okay. Anyway, this is one of the most important superpowers of our species. Stories are what make things happen. I think a lot of us were moved by some of the things that Nida B was saying. That's how things get done, and for better or for worse in the human world. So this is an important skill set to learn. So, all right, I'm going to shut up for a second, and can you guys throw in the chat or popcorn style tell me if you've got a video that you've been thinking about wanting to do, and tell us a bit about why you feel it's an important video to do, or a story you want to tell, and maybe spit out some roadblocks, things that are holding you back.
Adam?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, so I just did a video on TikTok. It was my first one ever. And it was 3 minutes on global warming. And it was, I thought it was pretty good for my first time. It's just my timing, like I got cut off at the end. I wasn't really, sure how to say things. And I mean, I had a lot to learn. I have a lot to learn as far as like presentation and how to make an effective video. I think for a homegrown one, it wasn't that bad, but I think that it could use, some technical upgrades and some skills in presenting.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, this skill set is very related to just the skill of giving a good presentation, which we've gone over some of that stuff. Yeah, we'll get into some practical tips for you, Hannah, on that. Let's see. I see Mitzi says, I made a video on social media at a KQED teacher training. It was awesome, easier than I thought. That's great. Yeah, that we'll get into that as well, Mitzi. The name of the game is keep it small, keep it easy, get it done from start to finish. Don't do what I do, which is make it a big project that you never finish. And then you start to build confidence, and you start to build an understanding of how you can improve and make it better. So keep doing it. It's all about repetition. Phoenix says, what to create a TikTok series called It's Time to Save the World, about how ludicrous my job is. Not sure how to edit the video. Also don't have good lighting, framing, background. Awesome. So yeah, to speak on that real quick, Phoenix, I think you want to, just like you pointed out that great series, I think it's, what is it, A Black Forager? And there's a lot of great videos like that out there. One pattern that you'll notice is that it's a really strong format decision to just have like the same opening every time, or the same ending. Like the Black Forager, she says, "Don't die," after every video. And the more you can build in a couple of these like common patterns that you do at the beginning and at the end or in the middle, a format, it makes it easier for you to create your series. And then on the lighting, framing, and background stuff, that's your production value. You can do some hacks. Shoot during the day. Make sure, yeah. I mean, you can get really nerdy on all that stuff, but focus on. Don't try to do the complicated stuff. Do the easy stuff, I would say. All right, we got other stuff here. Lauren says, I'm working on a doc right now about the sexual assault scandal at SFSU that effectively shut down the women's track team. That is juicy. That is a necessary doc. That's meaty. I love it. And then we got start small. Okay. Okay, cool. Anybody else have roadblocks for making videos? All right, I'm gonna keep it moving. All right, so let's just talk about the basic filmmaking process. And again, you can get really in the weeds on each one of these. People can take years for each one of these steps in the process. Except for the person who's doing the documentary film, you may take that long on some of these things, but for most of the stuff that you guys are going to do, I would not spend a lot of time on any of these. You can, but it's helpful to think about it in these steps. So the first is the concept phase, and that can be collecting a collage of images or poetry, kind of like the previous presentation, music, just things. What's the inspiration? You're trying to get a sense of what is this about? What is the story that you're trying to tell? Why? Especially for a documentary film, this could be a long process with lots of writing exercises, answering questions. Again, like photo and one image, or maybe it's like black and white. That's setting a tone. That's a part of the concept phase. What are the style choices that you want for this video? And the next phase is a script. So Hannah, this is where it might be helpful for you to write out what you want to say. What do you want to communicate? And the writing process is about iterating. You draft, then you come back, you cut it down, and then you come back and you cut it down, and you just keep whittling it away till you get to a very clear and concise statement that you want to articulate. And so once you get that down, then you can just practice presenting it. The beautiful thing about a video production is it's not live, so you can make sure you get a good take. But the script can be important even for like a little TikTok video. I think one of the cooler formats that I've seen on TikTok is I ran out of time. I was going to try to do one, but maybe I'll do one soon. It's where you shoot yourself, maybe wearing different outfits, talking to yourself as if you're different characters, and that's a great format where you would want to have a script. So you've got dialogue, and maybe you only say like 4 lines, but it creates a dynamic. It creates a story. Then the next phase is going to be the production, where you're actually shooting. Sorry, I got a little phase because somebody just got shot actually on a film production recently, literally by a gun. But this is where you're going to capture your images. You're going to pull out your phone and do those recordings. And here I would advise to not take too much footage. The more stuff, and it's hard for a documentary filmmaker, but the more stuff that you compile, and it's very easy right now to compile a bunch of stuff, the more stuff you're going to have to deal with in the next phase of editing, because you really want to be able to review all of that material multiple times and then start to pick the nuggets out. So that's essentially the process of editing. Again, it starts with reviewing all of the material you have, and the shorter and sweeter you have it, the easier that process will be. And then you are mixing and matching, putting this over here, that over there. The process often starts with audio first, which is kind of counterintuitive. You want to think about your music. You want to think about your audio. Your audio first, and then you lay your imagery over the top. And the term for that is called B-roll. And so, like in the news industry, you're gonna have your person talking. Maybe it's a voiceover, and then you're gonna have the camera person go and collect a bunch of short little snippet videos, and then you're going to layer those over the audio. So the imagery that you layer over your audio is always called B-roll. All right, let's move on. So again, keep it simple, stupid. Another good phrase is kill your darlings. But I just want to tell you a quick story about keep it simple, stupid. I've been working on a documentary about housing for years now, and I don't think I'm ever going to finish it because I keep making it bigger and bigger and more complicated. And most of the stuff that I've actually finished has been very small, bite-sized projects. So I highly recommend that you don't take it too far. And so I have a story to tell you about that. There's a famous documentarian named Errol Morris. He's a brilliant documentary filmmaker. But his first film took him something like 10 years to complete. And somewhere down that process, another famous filmmaker named Werner Herzog basically said, I will bet that Errol Morris will never finish that film. And if he does, I will eat my shoe. And so 10 years later, Errol Morris finally finished his film. And Werner Herzog went to actually the UC Berkeley campus, met up with Alice Waters, I think that's her name, the famous California cook, and boiled his leather shoe and ate it. And let me play you the video of that.
$1.75 what? $1.75 what?
$2.
$2. We don't.
I know.
Hey, turn off that damn TV!
It's heart attack usually the end of the line for a workaholic?
I'm glad you brought that up.
If you switch on television, it's just ridiculous and it's destructive. It kills us, and talk shows will kill us. They kill our language. So we have to declare holy war against what we see every single day on television, commercials, and I think there should be real war against commercials, real war against talk shows, real war against Bonanza and Rawhide or all these things. I'm quite convinced that cooking is the only alternative to filmmaking. Taste well. Looks already good. Look at this.
It should be like a pig's foot that gets, it's always a little, the leather should all soften up, and to serve it with something like the beans or a chili and lots of onions sprinkled on top.
I didn't mean to eat this shoe in public. I intended to eat it in a restaurant, but I was pushed a little bit into it, and it makes sense to some extent because it should be an encouragement for all of you who want to make films and who are just scared to start and who haven't got the guts. So you can follow a good example.
All right, and then I'm gonna kill that. I'm gonna play you another quick little ditty. This is by Ira Glass, who's the famous podcaster, This American Life. But he gets at this. Well, you'll see. It's another encouraging piece to just tell you to get it done. Don't worry if it's crap, and just keep doing it. So here we go.
spielen beide Positionen. Und vielleicht richtig vorgestellt für die ein ganz tolles Gespräch. Nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that all of us who do creative work, like, you know, we get into it, and we get into it because we have good taste. But it's like there's a gap that for the first couple years that you're making stuff, what you're making isn't so good. Okay, it's not that great. It's trying to be good. It has ambition to be good, but it's not quite that good. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, your taste is still killer, and your taste is good enough that you can tell that what you're making is kind of a disappointment to you. You know what I mean? A lot of people never get past that phase. A lot of people at that point, they quit. And the thing I would just like say to you with all my heart is that most everybody I know who does interesting creative work, they went through a phase of years where they had really good taste. They could tell what they were making wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. They knew it felt short. It didn't have this special thing that we wanted it to have. And the thing I would say to you is everybody goes through that. And for you to go through it, if you're going through it right now, if you're just getting out of that phase, you got to know it's totally normal. And the most important possible thing you could do is do a lot of work. Do a huge volume of work. Put yourself on a deadline so that every week or every month, you know you're going to finish one story. Because it's only by actually going through a volume of work that you're actually going to catch up and close that gap. And the work you're making will be as good as your ambitions. It takes a while. It's going to take you a while. It's normal to take a while, and you just have to fight your way through that. Okay?
All right. All right, let's get back to this presentation here. So I don't know if people have feedback or thoughts on that piece of it while I get this set up here. I'm going to jump through some practical tips now, and I'm in presentation mode, so if you've got a chat or a question, just throw it out there. Let me know. All right, practical tips. So you want to focus on, like, if you notice a lot of the good series that you're watching on Netflix, a lot of the stuff that captures your attention, the way that storytellers capture your attention is they raise questions. They create mystery. They make you ask the question continuously, what's going to happen next? I want to know more. The game you are playing is you are trying to keep people attending to or paying attention to your story. You don't want to lose them. You don't want to bore them. And a great technique to do that is to raise questions, especially in the beginning. Create a scenario where you don't give all of the answers. Tease your audience. You want to dribble out information. Obviously, the mystery format. I've been watching Murder in the Building. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's great. But that's a built-in format where it's like, who's the killer? That is a great technique. And so play with that technique as you do your work. Even if it's a little TikTok video, pose a question at the beginning and then don't answer it until the end. All right. See if I can get to the next thing here. Okay, so that leads to the concept of a surprise. That is also just a great technique for having some sort of payoff at the end. So your answer could be a shocking answer. It could be not what was expected. You kind of, I find when I try to formulate a story, I think backwards to, I know what the ending is, and I try to intentionally misdirect the starting of my story so that the ending is a surprise. And that makes for a good story. If you notice stories that really hit you in your soul, it's often you're going one way and then all of a sudden this happens at the end and it sticks with you. So it's kind of the same kind of concept as a punchline and a joke. So this is another kind of way of thinking about your overall structure of your storytelling. Let's go to the next one. All right, so this is going to be a technical thing. I think if we still have our art students in the here, they'll probably maybe know this, the photographers. But just take a look at this image here, and the question is why? Why is this woman with the pink umbrella? Why is she so far over to the left side of the screen? And ask yourself how would this image sit with you if she was centered in the center of the screen? Is this more interesting to you? Does this pique your curiosity to look at this image? According to the film buffs and the film gurus in film class, this is the way that you should always frame your images. It's called the rule of thirds. So let me take it to the next. So you can see if you break up any frame when you're framing your shots into thirds, you always, if you notice, a lot of the times when you're watching TV, the face is the most important thing for us as human beings. So the face is the important thing here, and we see that the woman's face is in not only the third the left third of the frame, but also the top. Her face is at the top left of the frame. So often you'll see framing where the eyes are, rather than right now, if you're looking at my screen, I'm in kind of centered. If I was framed in a TV show or in a film, the cinematographer would probably put my eyes something like this, so that there's some stuff going over here. This is just kind of the standard film language. And if you do it, you will achieve that it will be one step to getting that high production value that I think Phoenix was talking about, is to frame things using the rule of thirds. So put your main subject in the third, both top and vertically and horizontally. All right. And then on the subject of cinematography or framing, you want to think about your close-ups, your wide. Use that to tell your story. It's also really just pleasant to see varying perspectives in one video or one film. So play with close and wide. And this is something that I'm not a cinematographer. I'm not really a camera nerd. So I wish somebody told me this. But especially if you're going to do stuff with your phone, I kind of thought that it's this magic technology thing. You just point it over here, point it over there, and it'll just do the rest. All that jitteriness is not going to make for good production value. It's not going to give you the right stuff to edit into a high quality video. So what you want to do is it's a physical exercise when you are taking your shots, and the best advice would just be to keep it slow and keep it steady. In fact, even this is worse than, I would say, just if you could mount it on something and just have it be, get one of those tripods, or just hold it still, and then move, reposition, and get another shot still. That is more pleasant. We're unless you're doing like the Blair Witch Project, where that's part of your style, that shaky cam thing. For the most part, it's better just get slow and steady shots. Those little details will definitely add to your production value. All right, so let's get a little philosophical here. The question is, what makes art art? And so I took an art theory class in college, and this little nugget stuck with me really well, which is, the question is you take a toilet, you paint some nail polish on it, somebody calls it art, and it sells for $1 million. And then somebody else goes, well, why is that art? What makes that art? So, there's the art dealers, the museum people, there's this whole network of people that are involved in the high art scene. But when you whittle all that down, the question is, what's the minimum set of ingredients? So maybe I'll pose this to you guys, and let's see if you guys have any answers. What's the minimum set of ingredients to have art be art? I'm talking about, you need the thing to be created, the act of creation. How many people are involved? Does anybody want to throw out a guess? Okay, I'm seeing in the chat. Thanks.
I don't really think there's a limit, a requirement. It could be one person, it could be a group. I'm thinking of, I can't remember, but a couple that would do a lot of art pieces with like pieces of cloth, like on the, just like posted up in the environment. Um, yeah, so a photographer has a camera, but they're taking pictures of things that, are kind of already in existence. Though I guess light might be an ingredient. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, awesome, Mitzi. Yeah, I think you're right on. So what we came to it in that class was that you need, at minimum, you need one creator, one person to do the art. You need them to do that thing, whatever it is, whether it's a poem or a performance or whatever. And then you need an audience member or a viewer. So technically that could be two people, but Mitzi, you hit it. It can be one person. I can paint some nail polish on a toilet as the artist. I can take a walk around the block, come back, look at it, and go, hey, that's art. And that meets the minimum requirement to be art. Now, you might say that's not art, but that doesn't matter. It's art. So the reason I'm going into that is to say that you need to be your audience. You need to inhabit that space. And if the better you can do that, the better that you can take a break from what you just created and come into a different headspace and look at it with fresh eyes, the more you can edit it and make it something that's actually going to be engaging and pleasing and have the effect that you want. So you want to be your audience member, and really that's taking a break from your editing, from your writing, from your creation process, coming back to it, then taking another break, coming back to it. This is the story of good writing, and it's the story of good editing and art creation, I would say. Yeah, especially editing, not just art, in general, but video editing is very similar to writing, where you draft, you edit, you take a break, you come back, you edit, you come back, you edit. All right. Let's see. Let's go to the next. Okay, and another practical tip is make sure that the sound is solid. That is a great way to kill your production value. Is if you have crappy sound but beautiful images, it's counterintuitive. You would think that it's a visual medium, that the images are the most important thing. That's not the case. It's actually the sound. If you have strong sound and crappy images, you will still have something that feels like a high production value video or film. I remember I used to work at movie theaters. I worked at 3 different movie theaters as a young person, and I remember some grizzled old manager smoking a cigarette outside of the trash compactor when I was in high school, and he said, "As long as you make sure the sound works, that's all they care about." That's true. So think about your music, but also think about your audio recording. Make sure you invest in a good mic, or if you're doing something, if you're doing a TikTok thing on your phone, that's totally fine. But try to figure out how to shoot, say, indoors, so that you don't have a ton of wind, so that you can get good, clean audio. All right. So I'm not sure where we are with time here. I guess I kind of cruised through. This is basically the end of my presentation. I have a little video I can show you guys if you want that I did. But I wanted to talk to you about another brilliant author book that I think everybody should read, called The Inevitable, which is about, if you want to predict what's going to happen in the future, read this book. It came out a couple years ago, and it talks about a number of technological shifts that are coming, like, the idea of making everything smart, from your refrigerator to, just like in the past, we would, take a drill, a screwdriver, and electrify it, and that, you electrify everything now. The next wave is just making everything smart. Make your fridge smart, make your drill smart. Everything will be made smart. But he also talks about where we're going with the video language. And what he predicts is already happening, which is that we will have newer and newer ways to take pop culture references, a little song, a little quote from this film, and mash them all together to create very quickly effective ways of communicating. And that's already happening on TikTok and on YouTube. And so I just wanted to kind of plant that seed for you that this is an evolving form. And if we look back 10 years from now, I think the way that we communicate will be a lot different. It will basically, what he's talking about is this idea of formats and borrowing little snippets and models. And I think TikTok is a great example of that. That's if you surf around TikTok, a lot of what is done there is taking one little snippet of a song or just audio, weird audio that somebody did, and then somebody else putting their little spin on it. So just think about that. Again, think about what your format is that you're going to always use for all of your videos. I think it's a great technique. I do that. I have a podcast and I do that. I have the same intro and the same outro, and then I change the middle every time. And you could think about your series like that. But also you can think about in the TikTok world, trying to apply your video, say on mushroom remediation, to whatever the latest thing is that's on TikTok. There's the clock thing. People do different spins on that. There's the inhabiting multiple characters as the same person style. You'll notice a couple different models as you surf through TikTok and play with that. Play with that and borrow. All right, so the last thing is I did a little video on my phone. I went to Brazil for a month a couple years ago, and then I edited like a 15-minute film. So I'll play it for you if you guys want, but I don't have to bore you with it. I could also open it. Why don't I open it up to questions first, and then see from there. So any questions, thoughts?
Adam?
Yes.
Okay, good job. Thank you. I made two observations. I made two observations while you were presenting.
Okay.
One that just recently you showed, which is the rule of thirds.
Yeah.
The space that was left on the right side of the screen, is that telling us there is more to come? I think I saw Makita writing, she says uncovering this space. Is that what that is? That gives the impression that there's still more to come when you move subject matter to the far left. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's a great interpretation of that. Yeah, it piques your interest. You're like, it's a little, your eye is kind of confused maybe a little bit because you want it to be, that character to be centered. So you see them over to one side, and then you're like, you're curious about what's going on over there on the empty space. It creates engagement. It's a way to keep the audience interested. It's a you could say it's a cheap technique, but the other thing is it's kind of what our eyes expect now. So if you don't do it, that's fine, but know that you're doing that. You're changing the typical way that somebody is used to looking at an image.
Second observation quickly is early part of the presentation where you were showing how production is done. You did show, let me try to find it. When you got to production and shooting, and I think at that point you mentioned about a recent film that was being produced and somebody was shot. I think I saw it on the news this morning. It was a Western. That means that at the very part where the production and shooting is going, they did not take time or detail somebody to go through all the props, make sure they are functioning right, because they did not know that the gun was loaded with live ammunition. It was blank. That means somebody did not do their job at the last minute, which cost life of that lady actress.
Yeah, yeah. I apologize for bringing that up. It hit my brain when I said shooting. Yeah, I mean that highlights. These things are highly planned projects. Planning is always good. In this case, it would have better planning would have saved this woman's life. Um, but yeah, it also reminds me that it's a very physical thing. I have a friend who's a professional camera person, shoots documentaries all the time. It's an athletic event. We don't usually realize that. Okay, I think we got time for one more question, maybe, or I will put a link to my little video in the chat if you guys want to check it out. All right, I think that's it then. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.